Success often depends not on how much we've studied or on our connections, although that's also great and necessary, but success often depends on the fact that a person has understood how to live correctly. Start with yourself, with your own life, because the main problem of people in modern society is powerlessness. This powerlessness gives rise to a mass of mental problems. For example, people get nervous, angry, offended, can't concentrate, can't work for long periods, and can't stay at one job for long. All this means that they lack the energy of nature or health, which is the same thing. Let me briefly tell you what I've researched. I studied this topic seriously, experimenting on myself and on my friends. And I came to certain conclusions about how a person should generally live in order for their psyche to work stably and their life to improve. First, we have a certain environment in which we live, and we need to know how it works. When the sun rises, it activates a person's vital functions. The sun means the energy of joy. When it rises, a person should rise with it. For example, if a person gets up at 6 a.m., and it doesn't matter whether it's dark or light at this time, what's important is that at 6 a.m. the sun crosses a certain line. It may cross in a straight line, then it's visible, or at an angle, and then it's not visible, but at this time, at 6 a.m. by the sun, not by Moscow time, not by Kazan time, but by the sun. You should find out when the sun is at its zenith in your city. When is the sun at its zenith for you? 11:45? That's almost 12. This means you need to get up at 5:45 to live by the sun. If you get up later, what happens? The sun rises, but your body is still in bed. This means that all the solar energy begins to act destructively in your body. It starts to overheat you. What does this mean? This means that your inflammatory processes will increase. In women, infertility immediately increases because the main problem of female infertility is overheating of the body. Therefore, infertility is 1, emotional tension and breakdowns are 2, inflammatory processes in the body are 3. Overall, lethargy, volitional depression all day is 4, decreased digestion is 5, and so on. Immunity deterioration is 6. And if you get up, for example, not at 7, not at 8, but at 9, you will already have problems with your brain. Your psyche will already begin to suffer. In other words, to be unsuccessful, it's enough to just get up late and that's it, and your body starts to work not as it should. You should know that the energy of the sun digests food. But food can be digested not only by the energy of the sun, it can be digested by our psyche. Our subtle energy body has its own fire energy, but it all goes to thinking, to the ability to act. And when a person has eaten heavily early in the morning and the sun has not yet risen, at this time, early in the morning, the energy of prana acts very strongly. It's fresh and good in the morning, but it's impossible to digest what you ate heavily early in the morning. There's no sun, it hasn't risen yet. And the body begins to quickly push this food down. You ate early in the morning and everything went into the toilet, flew away, because the body cannot digest it. Naturally, since this food is being pushed through, digestive fire is still needed there, so you'll only want to eat again at 3 p.m. And at 3 p.m. the sun is already setting. This means you ate and then everything turned into toxins and your workability will definitely decrease. If you eat at 3 p.m., the sun is already setting. Where to get the fire energy for digestion? The fire energy is taken from the brain. Therefore, in the past, when people used to read books, assume a person ate late, there was not enough sun energy. The energy of the mind went to the stomach. What happens 40 minutes after eating? Frozen line syndrome. A person reads a book, the same line, and doesn't even notice that one can't read this line. This means the energy of the mind has gone to digestion. Then comes the nodding syndrome. When energy runs out, one loses strength 40 minutes after eating, and then the yellow spot syndrome on the book comes. You understand what happens. If you flip through a book and see a yellow spot at the bottom, it means someone ate late. You can tell them and they'll think, wow, you are like Sherlock Holmes. Furthermore, morning time is intended for victories over fate. Early morning, when the sun rises, gives a person the opportunity to improve their health. Only at sunrise can you heal the body. At other times, it doesn't heal. This means that jogging, exercises, and fasting are best done in the morning before the sun rises up. The sun rises and you can understand how to live correctly when a person prays early in the morning. The earliest morning time is intended for comprehending the truth and overcoming fate. The next time period is for improving your health. Then there's time to sort out your life in general. Approximately from 10 to 12. This is the time when you think well, you understand how to improve your activities, how to communicate with your loved ones. This is the time for comprehending the truth, for understanding. You might say, I start working at 7 a.m. Well, during work, you can simultaneously think about how to live, and you will succeed. In the morning, have a very light breakfast. Morning food includes nuts, fruits, dried fruits, all dairy products, sour cream, cheese, and so on. Also buckwheat, millet. All of these are not grain foods. Grain food is food that ripens in the sun. Golden ears of wheat, grain ripens in the sun, beans ripen in the sun, at a very high point. This means that all these grain foods should be eaten at lunch, not in the evening, not in the morning. You shouldn't eat grains because they won't be digested. Vegetables ripen under moonlight, so vegetables should be eaten at lunch and in the evening because they are digested at this time. And fruits ripen in the rising sun, so you can eat fruits in the morning. Nuts can also be eaten in the morning and in the evening. So lunch is the most abundant meal. You can eat all the heaviest foods at lunch, and in the evening it's best to eat stewed vegetables, not too much salt and spices. When they say that salt is harmful, it refers only to the morning and evening times. Salt is not harmful at lunch. It's only harmful in the evening, and in the morning food should generally have a sweet taste. In the morning, you should eat sweet things because the sweet taste is associated with optimism, with the energy of the sun. At lunch, the meal should contain all 6 tastes. And in the evening, a bland taste. That means the food should have a calming effect. It shouldn't ignite any tastes. It always means different moods. When a person eats correctly, life becomes easier for them. Morning time is meant for overcoming one's fate, daytime for work, and evening for family. When the power of the moon begins to increase, and the power of the moon increases at 6 p.m., at this time the energies of love increase in a person's life. Because the moon is not just a satellite of Earth, it carries the energy of love and rest. Therefore, a person should go to bed early. One should go to bed around 10 and wake up no later than 6, because during this time the effectiveness of sleep increases several times. If a person goes to bed late, they don't get enough sleep because they lack the moon's energy. That means that they need to sleep. If they go to bed late, it means they need to sleep after 6 a.m. But this sleep is destructive. It doesn't restore a person but simply exhausts them. Have you noticed that when you sleep in the morning it's hard to sleep? This is exhausting sleep because the sun rises, it makes a person get up. Nevertheless, if you went to bed late, you should still sleep for 7 hours, because when a person reduces sleep, they shorten their lifespan. So rest is still needed. And when a person sleeps, it's necessary to adjust the window. If air doesn't enter the room during sleep, it also destroys health. So maybe someone needs to open it less so that it doesn't blow so strongly, but still there should be some gap. Maybe in the next room so that air comes to you from there. But if there's no air, you lock everything and air doesn't enter, then you're destroying your health this way. Conception of children should happen at night because this is the healthiest time. When children are conceived during the day, they are born sickly. When children are conceived in the evening, they are mentally ill. In the morning, sensitive. And at night, healthy. Children should be conceived under the moonlight. And if you want good relationships with your loved ones, you should always build them in the evening, because evening time is meant for relationships with relatives. Songs are sung about this, right? But we often think that a song is just for entertainment. However, sometimes those who write lyrics for songs show some wisdom through these words. This is already a different topic. So I briefly told you what a daily routine is. If a person has this knowledge, the effectiveness of their life increases several times. If people don't have this knowledge, let's examine the consequences. If a person goes to bed late, they gradually become mentally and physically tense. The psyche becomes tense. These 3 types of tension, physical tension leads to diseases, tension in the psyche leads to drinking, and mental tension leads to smoking. So when a person goes to bed late, 2 bad habits are already chasing them. When a person wakes up late, the willpower function immediately says goodbye. That means there's no willpower, no health, and naturally there's no luck, because the person becomes spiritless. That means they're spiritless if they wake up late. So how to reach success? If you want to live well, follow the rhythm of time. You have to follow the rhythm of time. Don't rush, don't lag behind, step in time. This is a successful life. Next, you should know that time is a force that tests us in this world. It's not just time on the clock, it's a force that tests us. Time in the subtle energy body. It increases the number of trials each year. And in the physical body, it increases the number of difficulties. This is called the aging process. And you should know that in both the subtle energy body and physical body, there are 2 ways time influences us. One way is called cyclical time, and the other is stable time. So remember, all people die not from old age, but because a difficult period comes. And what is a difficult period? A difficult period is when either the body suddenly becomes ill, that means such a cycle has begun, or the psyche becomes very weak, or is subject to various stresses. That means various misfortunes begin to weigh a person down. It's necessary to understand that there are forces that help overcome these cycles, the influence of these cycles. That means they can be neutralized. You need to know the rules to generally reduce the impact of bad fate. The rule is the same for everyone. You need to understand that when fate comes out, it acts through memory. If a person's memory is focused on themselves, on their difficulties, on their problems, it means that fate overwhelms this person and destroys their life. If a person has focused their memory on something sublime and pure, and only the sublime and pure is stronger than the memory of oneself or one's fate, only God is stronger than the memory of oneself, then fate loses power and begins to melt away. That means it stops influencing the person. In order to focus on God, memory reacts only to fear and love. These are the only two emotions that memory responds to. You can't attract it with anything else. Well, fear is not an option. That means you're afraid today, tomorrow it gets better. You're not afraid anymore. Therefore, there is only one option. It's love. Therefore, if you see someone praying, some person praying very strongly, thinking about God with love, you can feel it through the chants and prayer. Then you can tune in and repeat the prayer together with them. A person's intelligence is activated. Let's say you're listening to a prayer, fate is not defeated, even though you remember him. Why? Because intelligence defeats fate. And if you repeat the prayer together with them, this action begins to influence your fate. When you just listen to the prayer, your mood changes. Mood is a superficial function of the mind, not deep. And fate is the deepest function of the mind. For the deep function of the mind to change, you need to repeat, like they do. When you repeat together with those who are chanting, you need to listen to how they love God. And when you listen to those who repeat the prayer, how they love God. During this time, your listening destroys the possibility of fate tormenting you. Moreover, bad fate weakens from this, and this weakening affects 3 circles of life. The first circle of life is called my inner state, my inner world. The first thing that happens when a person listens to those who pray, or repeats a prayer together with them, or repeats some positive affirmations. At this time, it's important to detach from yourself. That means that a selfless attitude activates victory over fate. This is success. As long as a person is focused on themselves, thinking about themselves, they cannot be successful, because their sense of self-worth turns towards a destructive relationship with the surrounding world. The correct relationship with this world is exchange. For example, I smile at you, you smile at me, I feel fulfilled. If I want something from you, you become tense, and you don't feel fulfilled, and neither do I. Fear, anxiety, restlessness, all this isolates people from this world, and they cannot be fulfilled. And if they cannot be fulfilled, it means they cannot overcome fate. The main problem of life in modern society is powerlessness. People suffer because they lack strength, so it's necessary to learn this knowledge. If people don't do anything with themselves, they focus on fear, restlessness, and anxiety. This means that they are aiming for self-destruction. To overcome fate, one needs to aim for service. What is service? It's faith, respect, joy. Well, let's say I turn on the adhan and you call to prayer. They sing, I sit and think about my problems, sadly repeating, I wish happiness to everyone. There's no chance to overcome fate. Why? Because my sense of self-worth hasn't connected with the source of strength. It's focused on itself. That means that I'm helping myself. Now, by the power of inner willpower, or by the power of my faith, or by the power of my experience, call it whatever you want, I begin to say, I wish happiness to everyone. And simultaneously I listen to those who pray and copy them. This is called the voice of intelligence, the voice you just heard. It's the voice of intelligence, or the voice of memory. You hear how this voice sounds. It's as if it's coming from some kind of another existence, as if it's not mine, as if it's coming from somewhere far away. This is the voice of memory, or the voice that overcomes fate. This is the voice with which a person should pray. Now listen to the second option. I repeat, I wish happiness to everyone. This is the voice of emotions. It doesn't overcome fate. It improves mood. It's good for a celebration or something. But fate inside is not changed by this voice. It's a superficial state. The next voice. This is the voice of the mind, not emotions, but the mind. I wish happiness to everyone. Or when I'm in a bad mood, I say in another manner, I wish happiness to everyone. That means that what I have, I can give, but I can't become a source of strength for myself and others in this case. A person has 2 ways to act in this world. One way is to be a closed system, or a fading light bulb, and the second way is to connect to the network. How to connect to the network? They listen to those who pray and give not themselves but what they heard to others. Imagine I become a conductor of the energy of happiness. That means it doesn't belong to me. I take it and give it away. And how to make it work to overcome fate? You shouldn't wish happiness for yourself at this time. You shouldn't say, oh, I feel good now. That means you need to forget about your own happiness. Listen to those who pray and give. Listen, give away. During this time, this energy of happiness changes our fate and heals it. This is the first method, the most ancient, the strongest to overcome fate. The first circle of life is inside me. That means I feel that my wife is about to leave, but I feel good, calm. This doesn't mean that I'm being dumb. She'll leave and I don't care. No, this means that I've already overcome 30% of fate. The second stage, I continue to repeat the prayer, or I wish happiness to everyone. The prayer should be repeated with those who pray, these short prayers. They are focused not on oneself but on God. So what kind of prayers are these? For example, Alhamdulillah, praise be to God, praise be to God. That means short prayers. Praise be to God means I glorify God forgetting about myself. Or Hallelujah, Hallelujah, praise be to God, praise be to God. You can say glory to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Spirit. You can say Allahu Akbar, that means God is great, and so on. That means a person repeats a short prayer glorifying God, not the adhan or namaz, not something long but short and glorifying God, not about oneself but about Him. This is what overcomes fate. All other prayers are intended to improve a person's life, mood, that means for understanding relationships with God. But the arrow that pierces fate is specifically a short prayer on chanting beads, which is repeated again and again together with those who pray. Because if you read alone, you will immerse yourself in your own memory. For example, you repeat, but you're thinking about yourself. This means that there will be no victory over yourself because your memory is not connected with the prayer. It's connected with you. This means that it's all pointless. But if you listen to those who pray, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, as you copy their love for God, not your own but theirs, you then connect to the common space of prayer. This space doesn't belong to these people who are chanting, but to God. When people repeat a prayer together with someone, they connect to the common space of victories over fate, thus going through 3 stages. First, calmness in the heart. I'm already calm. I believe that my wife will return. The second stage, these threads between us are being cleansed. That means she left me because the threads stank. It was difficult for us to communicate with each other. Now I've cleaned them over time, over several months, and it's easy for us to communicate. I'm no longer angry at her for leaving. And the third stage is in her heart. This is also my fate, but in her heart, the third circle of my fate is in her heart. She changes her attitude towards me and wants to return. This all may take 3, 5, 10 months, but you consistently pray. Let's say your loved one has left. You pray and calmness appears in your heart. Raise your hand who experienced this. The first stage is overcome. For those of you who feel that you can communicate with them and establish connections, the second stage is passed. And for those whose loved ones started saying they were a fool for leaving you, the third stage is almost past, which means they will return soon. But there might also be a scenario where they say, I'm a fool, but I can't come back because I have children there and so on. Then in this case, as a person deals with their fate, a person just needs to overcome fate. If this person doesn't want to submit to your fate, to the will of your fate, then God immediately gives another person. Well, God has plenty of men, and which one of them will return as you overcome fate? It already depends on the free will of the person that God has given you. If they don't want to submit to God's will, then God gives someone even better. Therefore, there is only one path for a person. Let's say the family's destroyed, I'll find another person. There's only one way, to win them back. And if a person doesn't return, but you've gone your own way, God gives you another person. But if you left, you should also return. If they already have another relationship, repent in your heart, restore the relationship with this person. The time will come when you'll get another person. But if you don't want to do any of this, then you won't get another person, you'll get punished. Because God not only rewards, but also punishes. And you'll find out how it works. For example, when a man leaves a woman, usually God has such a method to punish men. God gives him a very beloved, very beautiful girl. So he leaves his wife and immediately gets a very beloved and very beautiful one. For what purpose? It's very simple. So that he becomes attached to this woman, strongly attached, and so that she leaves him just as he left his wife. That's exactly how it happens, my dear friends. When a woman leaves a man, the punishment is directly opposite. She loses the possibility of close and warm relationships. There may be many men but no family, and she suffers and suffers and suffers. Until she repents, she will remain alone. As in one song, this is what's happening to me, my old friend doesn't come to me. But in idle vanity, the inconstant ones, not the right ones, come to me. What does this mean? She left her man. So listen again. When you pray with the sound of a holy person's voice, it's very difficult not to remember about yourself. Very difficult. I've only told you the theory, but you should practice doing this practice. Because there are 3 stages of immersion in prayer. The first stage is called support. I repeat, I wish happiness to everyone. At some point, I feel good repeating with them. I feel support. This means that your intelligence has engaged in overcoming fate. At the second stage, you need to repeat with your heart, I wish happiness to everyone. Don't think. The more I repeat, the faster the victory over fate will come. It's the same as if you repeat, for example, I love you, I love you, I love you at a fast pace. They'll tell you, stop. If you say calmly, prolonged, I love you, now that's different. So in prayer, you shouldn't rush either. Some repeat quickly, thinking they need to do it faster. Repeat more prayers. This is foolish. You need to repeat with your heart. It means calmly, because excessive acceleration takes the sound away from the heart. It first goes to the throat and emotions, and then to the brain. If the sound has left the heart, it means there will be no victory over fate. I repeat, for example, I wish happiness to everyone calmly, prolongedly. I wish happiness to everyone repeated quickly. You see, it's already in the emotions. Now, I wish happiness to everyone. I repeated quickly in a recitative manner. You see, the sound is already in the head. The sound has left the heart, so you shouldn't rush. You run to the store for bread, and you run in prayer too. This is not a way to live. The second stage of immersion in prayer is called opening of the heart. A person repeats, I wish happiness to everyone, and suddenly they feel somehow good in their heart. And at this time, it's important not to sink into this. I feel good. There's no need to pray. That's it. At this moment, you need to remember holiness and be grateful, to give this to people, to God. Remember the sacred things you have in life. Think about this. And you should continue praying. And the third stage is a sudden stream of thoughts about yourself. When the heart opens, it means fate has opened its gates for victory over it. The first sign that fate has opened is that you feel good in your heart and you start repeating from your heart. You feel that you're repeating directly from your heart. And then fate opens its gates and a heap of thoughts comes out from there. You suddenly forget about prayer altogether and only think about yourself, pondering something. You need to distract yourself from these thoughts and still remember those who are praying. And gradually, what will start to happen? The significance of these thoughts will begin to melt away. This means the power of fate begins to melt away. At first it seems that you can't, but then suddenly you can. A person feels that everything is normal, nothing terrible, everything will be fine. This is how fate is overcome. This is the first important action that a person should perform. In this action, a stationary position of the body helps when a person prays and does not move. In this process, the effectiveness increases many times over. A stationary position of the body by itself increases a person's longevity. I will talk about this today, but it also gives strength to overcome fate through prayer. A stationary position of the body, not movement, not walking, but precisely freezing and not moving. Did you get it? So I've briefly told you everything about prayer. In general, if you want more, we have clubs, and in the clubs we provide training. I conduct prayer retreats with clubs, meaning we learn to pray. Now moving on, a person has 3 types of aging, both mental and physical. We are now speaking from the point of view of health, not from the point of view of fate, but from the point of view of health. These 3 types of aging are the excitation of 3 energies of the soul. In other words, there is the energy of happiness. If a person does not perform asceticism practice for their happiness, then the energy of happiness stagnates in the body and turns into laziness. And this laziness turns into excess weight, toxins. This is the first stage of aging, excess weight and toxins. Toxins lead to viral infection. So, if you suffer from viral infections or you have excess weight, this means it's the first stage of aging. Whatever your age, it doesn't matter. The second stage of aging is chronic infections and benign tumors. The third stage of aging is malignant tumors and severe infections, such as tuberculosis, HIV, and so on. What should one do to overcome this type of aging? All types of aging are overcome by a person correctly aligning their sense of self-esteem with wishing happiness for everyone. That means they forget about themselves. They go out for fresh air or maybe do it at home, but then they must go out for fresh air because, let's say, some women can't run outside because there are dogs and so on. But now there are treadmills, they are flat. Even if you don't have any space in your house at all, you can put the treadmill behind the wardrobe. So you can put it down and run as much as you need at home when necessary. Then put it behind the wardrobe. Then go out on the balcony or outside and spend some time there so that the energy of nature enters you. So jogging is like a capacitor that forces the energy of nature to enter the body. That means this asceticism practice directed at health attracts energy. So when a person has excess weight or toxins, 2 asceticism practices completely overcome this. 2 practices together, not one, not each separately, but both together. The first asceticism practice is prolonged, joyful, continuous movement. You might say, I move a lot at work. I speak about continuous, joyful movement. At work you're not rejoicing, you're bustling, and you need prolonged, continuous movement with joy. And the second asceticism practice is water fasting. It's also a state of joy and a kind of self-sufficiency. These 2 asceticism practices remove excess weight, toxins, and a person gets rid of this type of aging, and this also applies to malignant tumors and benign tumors. These 2 practices remove old age from the body and these types of diseases. How does this happen? This morning in your park, I didn't see any of you there. I ran 16 kilometers in a joyful, calm state. Now I have a question for you. Can you tell that I've been traveling to different cities for more than 20 days, enduring flights, giving lectures? Do I look tired, exhausted? What emanates from me? Health, calmness, strength. Why? Because I've been nourished by your nature. I've been nourished by the nature of your region, but you haven't been nourished by your own nature. That's your problem. Now listen to me carefully. When a person starts their exercises with joy and calmness, don't overdo it. That means don't run too much at the beginning, because when you run, what is the body doing? During the run, you receive energy from nature, and it immediately starts to heal your body. And this means that when you stop running, this energy stagnates a little. Therefore, your body starts to ache or hurt a little. This means it's being capricious, saying, give me more energy for healing. And since you're not running anymore, your body will ache a little after running. Some people think it's getting worse, that I'm starting to get sick. No, this is healing in progress. Even if it's the joints aching or the spine or something else, know that a person should always start running very carefully. Start, for example, with 500 meters. You can run 500 meters every day. When you run for 20 minutes of running gives a person the ability to always be energetic, have a good attention span, and a good memory. These first 20 minutes of running improve your work ability. Such running doesn't improve health. In other words, if you run no more than 20 minutes, you won't get healthier from it. All this energy goes towards work, your activities, mood, and so on. Or walking twice as much, that is 40 minutes. 40 minutes of walking doesn't improve health, just mood, vigor. You should know that a person has 4 energy layers related to health. The first is the outermost. They are cleansed sequentially one after another. The first outermost energy layer is connected with the skin, mucous membranes, this is the mucosa of the stomach, intestines. It's connected with digestion, connected with the lymphatic system, immunity, hair, nails, everything that is external. If you run up to 40 minutes or walk twice as much, your first energy layer is being cleansed. Consequently, all digestive diseases, skin diseases are healed over time. That means they will first be treated for some time and then disappear. There will be healing through a slight exacerbation because the body's functions are changing. It requires strength for this. It may take you maybe 6 months to start running for 40 minutes. Don't rush. Don't overload yourself. When a person runs for 40 minutes, they no longer need to run every day. This should be done every other day. And when you run, it's important not to stop, because if you stop, the cleansing processes stop. You can run slower than you walk. During running, a person should feel great. They shouldn't be out of breath. They shouldn't feel like they're torturing themselves. You need to run joyfully. During the run, it's best to listen to happy music or lectures through headphones. You need to always tune your sense of self-esteem to the positive. This can be done with the help of sound. And it's best to run in nature or in a calm environment, for example at home. But you always need to ventilate the room strongly during this time so that there's a lot of fresh air. After running, if you run at home, be sure to go outside for a while or onto the balcony. Otherwise, the effectiveness will be the opposite, meaning you ran, but the body didn't absorb this energy of nature. This means that it will absorb something else, for example, TV, computer, or something else, which will have a destructive impact on your health. It's best to run or walk in nature. If there's no such opportunity, then in the gym or at home is also fine. Afterwards, you need fresh air and a positive mood.
If I feel nauseous after the 10th minute, what should I do?
This means you need to walk. You simply have a very neglected situation with the blood vessels of the brain. When you run, your blood pressure drops significantly. This means that you need to start with walking, then speed up and gradually transition to running. If something hurts, if you start feeling nauseous, it means you need to reduce the load, reduce the speed. This is not a way to heal, because when a person pedals, they can pedal or not pedal. Swimming is good, but during swimming, a person cools down very quickly in water, and therefore won't be able to swim for long because there's an intense influence of the element of water. Swimming itself is a way to prolong life. Let's say to completely cleanse the body, you need to run for 1 hour 40 minutes, 1 hour 50 minutes, or walk twice as long accordingly. But you won't swim that long in water. You'll simply get hypothermia. If you've run for 20 minutes around this time, you'll get your second wind. This means that it will become easy for you to breathe, as if you weren't running. This means that the body is ready for cleansing. When you've run for about 40 minutes, you'll feel lightness in the body or calmness for the second time, and a second wind. This means that the first energy layer has been cleansed, then it goes further. You run for 40 minutes up to an hour, and your second energy layer is cleansed, which is connected with all blood vessels. It's connected with all muscles in the body, with all joints and bones. This means that if you run for 40 minutes up to an hour, then there will be no atherosclerosis, no subcutaneous fat, no hypertension, no bone diseases. So health will be improving for about 6 months. Each time after running for 40 minutes to an hour, some joint will hurt. This doesn't mean that the joint is being destroyed, it means that the joint is being healed. You see, when you run for 40 minutes to an hour, you should do it every 3-4 days. You can't run every day. This will already be dangerous for health because the body doesn't have time to heal. If you're older, you can start running for 40 minutes to an hour after a year of running if you run regularly. After about an hour of running, you'll get your second wind or lightness. This means that the second energy layer has been cleared and the third will immediately begin to clear. On the third energy layer, which is connected with all internal organs, thyroid gland, liver, kidneys, heart, all these organs will be healed. Running from an hour to an hour and 20 minutes treats all your chronic diseases of internal organs. After about 6 months of such running, your liver, kidneys, pancreas, and other sick organs will say goodbye to diseases. After 1 hour and 20 minutes of running, you get your second wind. This means that the third energy layer is ready to be treated. When it's healed, then comes the fourth layer, which is associated with the nervous system and mental illnesses, such as schizophrenia. If a person runs for 1 hour 20 minutes to 1 hour 40 minutes, then there will be no neuritis, no pleurisy, no multiple sclerosis, no severe diseases of the nervous system such as Parkinson's. Know that you can't practice just running. You need to combine running with other practices of rejuvenation. And this is exactly the rejuvenation of the body that I'm telling you about. And during these runs, your way of living will also improve. The first energy layer is associated with a person's emotions and their anger, resentment, and outbursts. That means if a person runs up to 40 minutes, one will have no outbursts. In other words, the person will no longer have emotional outbursts. When a person runs for 40 minutes to an hour, their mood improves. There will be no bad mood. There will be no depression anymore. Running for an hour to an hour and 20 minutes is already associated with deep mental functions. A person will not feel mental fatigue in life. Inadequacy and mental breakdowns go away as a result of running for 1 hour 20 minutes to 1 hour 40 minutes. Deep worries, some severe mental disorders will completely leave the body. Fasting works in the same way. The longest water fasting is 2.5 days. It cleanses all energy layers. The shortest fasting starts from the evening. You eat a light meal, fruits or stewed vegetables, and don't eat until lunch. This is about 16 hours of fasting. At lunch, you eat normally, as usual. Running without fasting means that your body doesn't switch to cleansing mode. It's very important to know that if you only run but don't fast, then in this case, unnecessary substances accumulate in the body. This can be harmful. If you run, you must fast. Fasting from evening to lunch can be done every day. How to fast correctly? The first option is fasting from evening to lunch. The next option is from evening to morning, because you shouldn't break the fast in the evening. That means breaking the fast by eating in the evening is harmful. It's very difficult to break the fast with evening meals. This is harmful to health. Therefore, break the fast in the morning, and this will already be a day and a half of fasting. If you want to know my opinion on this matter, my opinion is this. During this Muslim fasting, you can eat only stewed vegetables and buckwheat, salads, all kinds of fruits in the evening, but you can't eat grains, meat, or anything heavy. All this will harm your body. Exclude evening meals after a long daytime fasting. Eat only light food, otherwise all consumed food will then remain in the body as undigested toxins, and you will get sick from this. You should understand that this Muslim fasting is not intended for health cleansing, but for spiritual strength. There are different types of fasting. For example, fasting for spiritual strength implies the possibility of eating at night, but you see, there is food suitable for nighttime. This is milk. Pure milk or dairy cream, you can drink them at night, but you can't mix different foods. Night food is any vegetables that grow above the ground. These are all stewed vegetables: cabbages, zucchini, pumpkin, patty pan squash. You can eat them at night, they are digestible. Nuts are also night food, but neither grains nor meat nor fruits, because they are not suitable for nighttime. If you eat them in the evening or at night, they destroy your health. You can also eat fruits, but not at night. At night they overexcite and you won't be able to sleep. So you can fast from the evening until the morning of the next day, then break the fast at lunch the next day. And the next one is fasting until the morning of the second day. So it turns out to be 2.5 days, or the longest fasting that cleanses all channels. Women often have lazy bodies. They can't run, say, for 1 hour, 40 minutes, or 16 kilometers. Then you should run, say, for 40 minutes to cleanse one energy layer at least. At the same time, practice fasting to the maximum. You see, maximum fasting and maximum running extends life by 20 years. Active longevity for me is until 64 years old. When I run 16 kilometers, longevity increases to 86 years. My life is extended by 22 years. I can see this in my body. I see how it happens there, and what difficult periods I have. I see all this. How my cleansing went. 4 years ago, I started running 500 meters. I didn't know at first that this needed to be done. I practiced yoga all my life and fasted. But then I felt that I was out of breath whenever my body experienced a little physical activity. Although I thought that I was living correctly, doing things right, I realized that I lacked this type of asceticism practice. At first I started running 500 meters, and I ran slower than I walked. Gradually I started running more and more, and after a year I was already running around 7-8 kilometers. After 2.5 years I was already running 16 kilometers. But when I started running for 40 minutes to an hour, my right knee started to hurt, and only in this running interval did I start to lose weight. So when running for 40 minutes to an hour, fat starts to melt. I lost 7 kilograms and didn't lose any more weight. I stopped losing weight because there was no excess weight anymore, and this means it's normal for the body. And my knee hurt for 5 months after running. My friends told me that probably soon my knee would wear out, as they write on the internet that one shouldn't run, one should walk with a stick. I didn't pay attention to this. After 5 months, the pain in my right knee went away, completely gone. The knee didn't wear out. Then both hip joints started to hurt, and they hurt for about 3 or 4 months and then healed. They ached for about 3 or 4 months. Then my left knee started aching, then both ankles. I stopped paying attention to it. Then my whole spine ached, then my brain, then my eyes, then my heart, and everything else ached, and now I can run like a horse. I'm 54 years old, and nothing hurts at all. And my friends tell me that I'm getting younger and younger, and wrinkles are disappearing, and there are fewer wrinkles on my face. Those who came 4 years ago, you saw that my face was a bit fuller. It has become like it was when I was 40 years old. My face was approximately this shape. It's interesting to know how all this happens. So, the next type of aging is heat in the body. Heat in the body means emotional tension, nervous breakdowns. It means irritability, disturbed sleep, and disturbed digestion. This is excess heat in the digestive organs. Further, heat in the body means all inflammatory processes. That means the first stage is just heat and emotions. The second stage is inflammation. This means aging has advanced one step. And the third stage is ulcers of all kinds, diabetes, bronchial asthma, tuberculosis. All these diseases stem from excessive heat in the body, as well as lupus, severe collagenoses, diseases that destroy the entire body. This is the third stage, already the terminal stage of heat in the body, which leads to death. How to remove heat from the body? Heat in the body is removed by 2 asceticism practices. The first asceticism practice is static exercises. The second asceticism practice is water fasting. Static exercises are done like this. You can simply stand still and pray. When you stand for 20 minutes, the cleansing of the body begins. If you stand for 1 hour and 40 minutes, it means all energy layers are cleansed. If you stand for 1 hour and 40 minutes, then run for at least 40 minutes. Otherwise, when there's only static treatment and no dynamic, it creates a strong imbalance in the body. Also, if there's only dynamic movement and no static exercises, an imbalance is created as well. The third type of aging is tension in the body, as well as restlessness, disturbance in attention span. When a person feels that they cannot relax, this leads to smoking. Heat in the body, by the way, makes people drink, while tension makes people smoke. The first stage, tension. The second, spasms and pains in the body, including headaches, including constipation, including veins popping out. All this is due to tension. The third stage, deformations of joints, spine, internal organs, all kinds of adhesions, blockages, and so on. All this is caused by tension. It is treated with prolonged, continuous movement and fasting. In other words, if you have headaches, It's the disease of blood vessels. This means you should run for 40 minutes to 1 hour. Headaches will be cured. If your joints hurt, you should run for 40 minutes to 1 hour. Joint pain will disappear. If your spine hurts, it's deeper, like internal organs. You should run for 1 hour to 1 hour and 20 minutes. There will be no osteochondrosis, no sciatica. Hemorrhoids are treated when running for 40 minutes to an hour. For a spinal hernia, you need to do static exercises. You need to sit up straight. There's a second way to do static exercises. I'll tell you now. Sit down, stretch your legs forward and lean forward very slowly. If you stay in this leaning position for 40 minutes and then get on your knees and do a back bend for about 5 minutes and start doing some jogging, in 6 months the hernia will be gone. These are the 2 static exercises. Sit on the floor, stretch your legs and lean forward. Lean as much as you can. Let's say you can do it for 10 minutes. That's good. If you can do it for 20 minutes, it's even better. 40 minutes is the maximum. Then stand up, do some bends, and then get on your knees and lean backwards like this. You can do a bridge pose, or just lie back and lie like that. Then after that, stretch your legs out again. So first you lie down, then you stand up and do bends again. Finish with bends. That's it. This is such a static gymnastics. And during this time, you can repeat a prayer very effectively. To treat blood clots, start with water fasting. And then you should start moving very carefully, not abruptly, not fast, but carefully. And gradually all the blood clots will dissolve. All right, my dear friends, I won't answer all your questions because we have many topics to cover. So I've told you about 3 types of aging, 3 types of asceticism practices that prolong life. A person who doesn't do this in their life cannot count on a successful life. Because the main problem of human existence is fatigue, tension that accumulates in life, and it destroys everything, from workability to family. Often people separate not because they don't have the ability to love each other, but because they are simply tired of life. And they think they are tired of their close person. In fact, they just lack the energy of nature. I can give a simple example. Let's say you went out for a whole day in nature, walked there, played, ran. You come home, you see what a good mood you have, good relationships. You feel better and converse, communicate better. This is what I'm talking about now. People underestimate this, don't understand the importance of these things, underestimate them. As one song says, fate gives you one last chance. Long live walking and daily running. This means that when you go to the doctor, one tells you, it's already sciatica, you see, move less. If you listen to this doctor, prepare a coffin for yourself. Because this kind of thinking completely destroys your health further. That's it. Sciatica means not walking. It means not doing static exercises. Time will pass and goodbye to sciatica. And if you didn't start after that, it's already the 2nd stage of aging. If you didn't start running after that, then the 3rd stage will follow. When you sit in front of the TV, what are you doing at that time? During this time, you're living the lives of those on TV. Moreover, they're not living their own lives. They're simply entertaining you, or, to put it bluntly, fooling you. If you want to live, then live your own life. In the past, people didn't have TV. What did they do? As the song goes, I'll go out on the street, look at the village. Girls are walking around and I'm happy. People used to go out, sing with accordions, and they enjoyed life. But now everyone sits at home, watching others enjoy themselves. This means an unsuccessful life. Break stereotypes, visit friends, socialize, enjoy each other's company, run out into the street, laugh, have fun, live. If a person doesn't want to live, it means they'll die. Either live or die, one of the 2. Let's move on. I have a lot to tell you on this topic of success. So know that if you don't have the strength to work, to force yourself to go to work, if you can't concentrate, if you don't have the strength to talk to your boss, it means you lack nature. Go, replenish yourself with nature then. When you're filled up, you have strength, you're energized, everything's fine in life, the next stage begins. The next stage is called a person's social strength, or their ability or wisdom, knowledge of how to overcome one's fate in the social sphere. This is wisdom and knowledge. I'm telling you exactly what to do, step by step. If a man feels that he doesn't know where to work, he doesn't feel the strength to be successful, it means that he needs to go through just 4 stages in this direction. The first stage is movement. A man can only be activated through movement. He can't be activated in any other way. Willpower functions in a man are only activated through movement. You don't have to run. You can do boxing, lift kettlebells, do exercises, do whatever you want, sambo, sports, whatever you like. But if a man doesn't move, doesn't make volitional efforts, he won't learn to work, because this is the next stage of a man's development. So the first stage, a man gets activated, he starts moving. What does an inactive man look like? He behaves lazily, doesn't like to quicken his pace. He wants to live beautifully without effort, just like that. At work, he's concerned about playing dominoes, and when work is over, it's time to go to the movies. What does this mean? It means that this is a normal guy, a normal good person, not that he's a scoundrel, he's a normal good person, he's just not activated as a man. This means that he simply cannot be effective. If you don't turn on the switch, the light won't shine. The person is not alive, he's not alive as a man. So what to do? Such a person who's not alive as a man comes up to me and says, Dr. Torsunov, where should I work? I don't like anything. I say, you don't need to work, you need to start running, do exercises, you need to activate your willpower. How to determine that it's activated? A man wants to do something. He has a desire to do something. This means that the willpower factor has been activated. He has become a man. By the way, my dears, this stage when a man is not activated also means impotence. At this stage, a man doesn't even have the ability to conceive a child. He's zero in all respects. As soon as a man is activated comes the second stage, which is called hobby. What does this mean? It means that a man wants to do what he likes. He doesn't care how much money he'll make. He wants money, but he can't work where he'll be paid money. He doesn't want to. He can only work where he likes. This hobby stage is overcome in the following way. A man must force himself to work anywhere, it doesn't matter where, in one place, for at least 3 to 4 years, in order to finally feel that he likes work. At this stage, what you do is what you like. This means that you're moving to the next stage, which is called the stage of abilities. How is it manifested? When a man starts doing something with love, he likes doing something at this time, his intelligence is activated, which gives him the opportunity to understand what he can do better. In other words, if a person starts fighting, let's say, he's fighting, then his development consists in beginning to understand where he can fight better. Someone can shoot better with a pistol, someone from a tank, someone can do this, someone can do that. It's the same at work. So, if you're not doing anything, you can't understand where you'll be effective, because you can only understand where you can be effective when you've started doing something with joy and love. If you're doing something and you don't like it, you don't like this, you don't like that, you'll never find yourself. Stick to one thing, feel that you've settled there, so to speak, you like everything, you enjoy working. From this moment on, you'll discover where you can work better, which means you'll earn more money. So the second stage of a man's development in activity is called activity according to abilities, meaning a man feels where he should work, how he should work, but he can't work in a way that he deeply enjoys. He can do it, he gets paid, but he gets tired there and doesn't really like it. This doesn't mean, Dr. Torsunov, where can I find something I like? You won't find it anywhere, because for you to truly enjoy your work, that's the third stage of development, and entering this stage doesn't happen through work anymore. For a person to act at the level of intelligence, or at the level of their abilities, and at the level of purpose, they need to start working on themselves. Prayer is needed, these asceticism practices are needed, correct nutrition is needed, and then gradually, when a man's intelligence is activated, which means he can regulate his life, quit bad habits, behave normally with his wife. At this moment, he develops the ability to put people above money, and when a person can work somewhere for the sake of people, he unlocks the ability to work in a way that is very enjoyable. And this opportunity tremendously develops a person. He becomes highly successful in his activities because he finds the activity that he has been engaged in for many lives before this. The activity of the platform of intelligence or a person's purpose, which we will talk about in the next lecture tomorrow, I will explain in detail these different types of purpose. This activity is only activated when a person's intelligence is activated in life, because the first stage of activating a hobby is at the level of a person's emotions. A person wants to enjoy life. The second stage of activation is mental abilities, or so to speak, a person's abilities, activity according to abilities. And activity according to a person's nature, or effective activity that brings happiness, or a person's mission in life. In their activity, a mission is possible, but only when a person can put fear or their own needs in second place, and the needs of people and society in first place. In other words, until a person is tuned in this way, they cannot act at the level of purpose, because intelligence is only activated in selflessness. When a person is selfishly inclined, intelligence doesn't work, only the mind works. And a person can't act in a way that truly comes from the soul, even though they might be doing the same thing. Let's say by nature a person needs to trade, for example. Maybe this is his purpose too, but he won't be able to find happiness in this activity until he steps over the word family. Now about a woman, we've left the man alone. The first stage, an undeveloped woman, an uninvolved woman, is called a dreamer. What does such a woman look like? She's so good. And a woman is always good. It's the better half of a person. That means she's so good, kind, but she does nothing all day long. She waits. There's a song about waiting for happiness and believing it will come soon. It goes like, "Where are you, my happiness? Where are you? I hope I'll find you soon. I'll meet you soon." We live a dream, and we read psychological books that say, visualize stronger. So dream harder and he will be attracted. You need to attract him with your dream. Do you know what dreaming leads a person to? In general, it leads a person to living in a dream. Let's say a woman starts living a family life in her dreams. That means it attracts spirits. So at night she starts having sex with spirits. This is all a result of dreaming. For a man, his dreaming leads to masturbation and such things. So living a dream leads one to lose oneself completely. Well, what's the difference between a dream and a goal, a path? Dreaming is good. There's some dream that's good. But as soon as it appears, one should start acting. What constitutes the awakening of a woman? A woman should awaken through love. That means the activity of love, which means drawing, singing, and best of all when it combines with movement, dancing, for example. Also caring for other people. The activity of love means to do something good for someone. For example, some kind of volunteer activity for people. Participating in some volunteer events, that means when a woman gets involved in social life or dances or sings, that means her creative potential is activated and she starts to care for everyone, joyfully love everyone, live for everyone. So at this moment, she immediately, without delay, becomes filled with beauty and the power of influence over other people. And after this, someone immediately falls in love with her. Well, because such a woman is needed. Someone falls in love with her right away and she gets married. A woman, of course, has a second option. If she has become so influential, she can direct this power of hers into activity. That means to go to work. And then think, when I have a car, an apartment, I become so self-sufficient, that's when I'll get married. This thinking is incorrect. I'll explain why now. Because if you become self-sufficient, you'll have a car and an apartment, then you'll find yourself a kept man. Well, that means close relationships always have a self-interested nature. A woman who has power finds herself a weak man. A weak woman finds a strong man. A strong woman cannot find a strong man because she won't be able to deal with him and he won't be able to deal with her. Therefore, when a woman reaches the social level, that means she becomes socially active. She needs to get married first. She can, of course, get an education by this time, no problem. But if a woman puts work first in her life, she won't get married at all, because a woman's psyche works in such a way that where her mind flows, what she wants in life, that's what will happen. For example, a woman asks me questions and constantly talks to me about work. At my work it's like this, at my work it's like that, and then asks me, when will I get married? Never. Why? Because her mind is directed towards work. Where a woman's mind flows, that's what will happen to her. A woman is such a being that she summons everything in life with her mental power. Where she is mentally directed, that's what will happen to her. It's easy for a woman to direct her mind towards work, because in the area of work, a woman experiences entertainment and relaxation. Well, that means this is not the sphere where she should live responsibly. But this sphere is like lying on your belly, sunbathing. This is not the sphere where she lives. But a sphere where she entertains herself, it's like going to a resort. Some people come to a resort and think, I wish I could live here. Living and resting are different things, keep that in mind. If you're going to live at a resort, I know such people. They don't swim there, don't sunbathe, they have no time. They live at the resort, but for them the resort is work. They can never relax at this resort anymore. You think they're enjoying themselves there like in the song, Chunga Changa, blue sky, summer, all year round. Chunga Changa lives happily. Chunga Changa sings a song, Wonder Island. It's easy and simple to live on Chunga Changa. Chew coconuts, eat bananas. It won't work out. So, a woman who is focused on work won't get married. To get married, you need to force yourself to think about your personal life. And this is an asceticism practice to even think in this direction for a woman. Damn, I don't know how I'll get married. Of course, you don't know, it's okay. You'll find out soon. Start thinking about it. Feel that it's hard for you to think about it, but think about it. When you come to work, work. But when a woman works and she thinks about work, she loses herself in this case, she burns out. Because when her psyche is directed towards work, she can't find her happiness there. A woman's happiness is in her personal life, in close loving relationships and so on. But at work, there are no close relationships. There's only hardship and women get tired at work. She suffers there. But if she's already married, she comes to work and doesn't worry about anything there. Because she's already protected by the energy of the family. She can develop at work, be a factory director, no problem, but everything in its own time. The first stage for a woman is social development. To get herself going, stop dreaming, get out of the house, start dancing, singing. Through creative activity, a woman becomes involved in life. She becomes a personality. Therefore, where should girls be sent? Into creative activities, so that they run, jump, dance, rejoice, so that they become beautiful, strong women. A girl should be engaged in creative activity. Not maths, but singing, dancing. If she's in a math school, she won't become a mathematician. Well, further, when a woman feels very strong, she can develop in activities and so on. What's the problem in modern society? The problem is that people are targeted for just education that gives them the opportunity to work somewhere. Look how this affects women. Women need to be taught about life, relationships, so that they learn. A woman should be able to communicate with people, understand people's characters. She should know how to cook. She should know how to create an atmosphere in the apartment. She should know how to pray, and she should know how to heal people. These are natural needs of a woman. She should learn all of this at school, at university. These are natural needs. Of course, a profession is also necessary, but that comes later. First, a woman should learn these things. But if a woman doesn't learn these things, she grows up as a plant, not a human. She doesn't know how to talk to people, doesn't know how to help, how to take care of someone. And as a woman, she's a zero. And therefore, as a person, she's a zero. She knows mathematics, physics, and biology, but she doesn't know how to live. And that's why there are 80% divorces. Let's continue. For men, it's also mathematics, physics, chemistry. What should a man do? From childhood, a man should cultivate willpower in himself. This includes movement, struggle, and some kind of training. Teaching him what is duty, responsibility, male dignity, and so on. Men's college, men's gymnasium, martial arts. A man should also know how to throw a punch. So when a man has learned all of this, then let him study mathematics, physics, chemistry, no problem. But then he's learning as a man, not as a plant, but as a man. That means you have the strength to learn. You know why you need this. This is how people should be taught. This is written in the scriptures. Saints studied this. They saw human psychology, how everything is arranged. At the third stage, a woman's purpose goes further. A woman's activity, according to her abilities, is her family. That's where her abilities lie. And her purpose, her further social development, can be achieved when she has already become a developed personality. Where does a woman develop as a person? In the family, not at work. At work, a woman doesn't develop as a person. She withers at work and becomes wild. She starts smoking there, starts to cheat, and loses herself as a person. She loses the feeling that she's a family person. She becomes a wild person. Like in the movie Office Romance, I like this film because it shows a wild woman. She doesn't even know how to look at a man. She looks at him. She's gone wild at work. Isn't it so? They also show there, everyone laughs. He's also like that. The man is not very developed, but they found each other. They can't even get acquainted. They walk around each other. It's funny, of course, all of this, but this is life. Psychologists have noted this situation. The fourth stage of development for men and women is already the highest purpose. It's mentorship. When a person becomes a sage, they don't need to work. They can teach as a professor or as a specialist. To teach people as a master or simply as a mentor, they have gone through their life path, and most often these are older people. I've just told you about the stages of human development. If you try to bypass these stages, you won't succeed. This is simply incorrect thinking. And a successful person is one who goes through these stages. Because if a person doesn't go through them, they remain where they are. That means at the beginning. How to determine that a man is at the beginning? He's a drunkard, a reveler, a lazy person. He's a person with very big ambitions, with a very difficult character, and from the point of view of his effectiveness, zero. How to determine that a woman is at the beginning of her path? She's very shy, modest, unsociable, lazy, cries, throws tantrums. Maybe she already has bad habits. Maybe she has already started to have affairs. She doesn't want to work, doesn't want to do anything, just dreams, throws tantrums and cries. That's all. This means the woman is at zero, undeveloped. And this is a dead-end branch of development. It's when, rhinos become extinct. If you want me to compare it with how a woman has worked herself to the bone. If a woman has worked herself to exhaustion, she's single. It's the same as a man who has drunk himself into oblivion. So that means a dead-end branch of development. A man goes to the feminine side. He starts drinking, sitting at home and getting high. And a woman goes to the masculine side. That means she's worked herself to the bone and has become wild like a Przewalski's horse. But she considers herself a fully developed woman at the same time. But what's the development? A woman develops in relationships, in love, in family, in children and husband. This is the development of women. But if she's single, she's saved money for an apartment, for a car. Where's her development? What does success consist of? There's no success because she hasn't fulfilled the purpose of her life. What's a woman's life purpose? So that's what I'm advising. Let's continue. So let's examine relationships between people. It's very important to know that all people live in 3 layers of society. 3 layers of society exist. These 3 layers essentially depend on the 3 energies that exist in this world. The first type of energy takes over people when they are completely focused on themselves, and their concept of happiness is this: I want to be happy, and if someone interferes with this, I will fight them. That means it's a concept of complete, dense selfishness. A person's sense of self-esteem is completely turned inward, with no intention of turning outward. How do such people look? How do they live? They might be quite educated, developed. They don't necessarily drink or smoke, but this person is stubborn as a mule. It's impossible to come to an agreement with them. They always insist on their own way, be it a woman or a man. This person is incapable of building mutual relationships with anyone. If it's a factory manager, they behave very despotically. If it's a subordinate, they are stubborn, never agree to anything, always in conflict. If it's a woman, she's constantly in conflict with her husband, throws tantrums, she is in a depressive state, doesn't want to properly sort out relationships with him, always demands fulfillment of her desires. Not ready to even perceive that there are any other desires. This is called living in degradation. Most often it leads to depression in women and disillusionment with life. And then after depression, the next stage of life in degradation for women is alcohol, prostitution, and smoking. For men, life in degradation means the first stage is aggression and a very harsh, conflictual attitude towards the whole world. And the second stage is the same: alcohol, prostitution, smoking. There is a special layer of people in degradation. That means a life in degradation is always pushed. Shadow business, all kinds of drugs, alcohol business, alcohol, smoking, any schemes related to deceiving people, theft, robbery, and so on. And the entire criminal world is a life in degradation. People in degradation always have their sense of self-esteem low. These people are, in fact, a bit depressed, but most often they don't let themselves or others know about it. That means that they think it's not their case. If a person constantly drinks, it's not noticeable that one is depressed. One seems cheerful, always happy, but their psyche is in a deeply repressed state. Such a person is in a state of self-destruction. Keep in mind that when women think that a man who drinks is bad, he's ignorant, and I'm so good. Know that for every drunkard, there's a woman who can't accept the man, can't agree with him, she is offended and depressed. This is degradation in a feminine way. Female energies are always hidden from the truth. A woman always feels that she is good, and that's how this world is arranged. That means that the man is always a fool, and the woman is always good. When a man drinks, the woman thinks, why did I, such a saintly woman, end up with this fool? If a man drinks, there is a woman next to him who is depressed and in terrible opposition to the man, and this is exactly what makes the man drink. This is called a woman's life in degradation. Remember, life in degradation never gives any way out, any success, any happiness. It leads to degradation and destruction. How to get out of this concept? We need to understand that only one thing leads to the concept of a person's ignorant existence. I want to be happy. I don't care about anything else. If you don't care about your loved one, about other people, you won't get out of this concept. To get out of it, you need to start forcing yourself to think about other people, force yourself to consider their interests, force yourself to forgive, endure, care for people. Otherwise, it's impossible to get out of the degrading concept. If a person living next to you is in degradation, he doesn't care about anything. If you start talking to him, he'll punch you in the face. If you start talking to a woman, she throws a tantrum. She doesn't want to listen to anything, understand anyone, accept anyone. She only wants to live as she wants, and everything else doesn't matter. If you live with such a person, it means that you were such a person in your previous life, and God is punishing you for it. What to do? Remember, degradation is an energy that destroys life. It doesn't matter if it's your fate or not. Therefore, the only way to communicate with such a person is to keep distance. The closer you get to them, the more you burn out. You can't explain or prove anything to them. This person can only learn through the mercy of people. That means that only your prayer and their own suffering can enlighten them. The best way to teach this person is to bring them to a state where they understand that life can't go on like this. Otherwise, they won't get out of this concept. They are so stubborn and headstrong in this concept that you definitely can't help them with just conversations and persuasions. Only life can change this person. Therefore, if God has given you such a person, live at a distance. How to determine the distance? By your well-being. If you feel more or less okay, this distance is acceptable. If you feel you're burning out from humiliation, insults, cruelty, then you need to increase the distance to the point of living separately. but not abandoning the person, but setting conditions for them. Because I repeat once again, by abandoning the person you don't achieve the goal. By abandoning the person you violate God's law and remain alone. Set conditions. If the man wants to change, give him a chance. Usually a man needs about 3-4 such cycles. That means you set conditions for him, he sobers up, understands that he needs to change his life. You say, I agree to these conditions. You start living together, he relapses, you live separately again, and it may happen about 4 times. On the 4th or 5th time, he gets on the right path of life, and God will be grateful to you for this. Now, ladies, if you live with such a person, he abuses you, beats you, rapes you, and you endure it, it's an even bigger sin than the action of this person itself. That means you allow this person to become like a snake and accumulate poison. This should not be allowed to anyone, anywhere, and never. No one has the right to commit violence against a person. If you allow it, it's a sin for which you will be accountable before God. As soon as violence starts, keep distance. And children in such families, if there is distance, then the psyche of children is also preserved. And if there is no distance, their psyche is destroyed, and they become exactly the same as their parents. This is the fate of children. They receive this as punishment for their past actions.
What if there's nowhere to go?
If there's nowhere to go, then you need to pray for a place to go. A person doesn't have hopeless situations in life, there is just hopeless internal state. Now the next layer of life is called life in passion. 90% of people live in it. This is about all of us. What is life in passion? This is when a person's life concept is like this. I want to be happy, and I want my loved ones, my friends, my country to be happy, that's all. What is the problem with this concept? The problem is that a person wants happiness for everything that is mine. This is called hidden egoism. That means the sense of self-esteem is still turned in the wrong direction. It's not turned towards development and gaining strength, happiness and joy. It's turned towards oneself, and therefore this hidden feeling, this hidden incorrect concept leads to gradual exhaustion. A person in degradation can't live normally in a family at all, but a person in passion seems to live normally. Everything seems okay, but there's a gradual exhaustion. Why? Because the person is still focused on themselves, on what's mine. And this fixation on themselves doesn't even allow them to see their loved one. When people are fixated on themselves or on what's theirs, they seem to live together, they seem to have a family, children, work, everything is good. But they can't even have a heart-to-heart talk with each other, because this conversation immediately causes irritation. Why? Because they don't actually want to hear about each other's lives. They only want to hear about themselves. When people live in passion, they create an appearance that everything is fine, that they have a family, they care for each other, but in their hearts they are deeply lonely, because their close person is not actually a faithful person. They are trying to get happiness next to you. If they feel that they can't get happiness next to you, then what happens next? How is it different from a family in pure goodness? A person in passion, if they feel that they can't get happiness with you, it doesn't matter how many children there are, they just abandon everything and go where they can get happiness. This means there was no closeness at all. Closeness gives people conscience. If there's no conscience in life, no God, no depth in relationships, then there's no loyalty, no closeness, no guarantees, no stability. None of this exists. Neither apartment, nor children, nor family, nor work, nor success will help. Moreover, I'll tell you, if God gives you a lot of money, high social status, great success, it destroys the family of passionate people even much faster. Because men, when they have a lot of money, undoubtedly start to cheat, undoubtedly get themselves a mistress. They get a mistress, and this is a physical concept of life. Having a mistress is a physical concept of life. People, when they get rich, what is it called? They become like pigs, they get piggish.
When they get rich, they start looking at young ones.
Who should they look at, old people? So, is that clear or not? Why are you immediately attacking men? What about women? When a woman has a lot of money, what does she do next? A woman becomes lazy, becomes obsessed with shopping, and begins to buy everything like a mad woman. She starts going to concerts. That means leading a very idle life. She doesn't care about her husband, her family. Let nannies take care of the children. Let the maid cook for the husband. So you see, she doesn't even need her husband anymore. Of course, the woman also comes to debauchery in this state, but much later. When a woman has money, she mainly immerses herself in entertainment, while a man immerses himself in women. I'm telling you now that the very concept of a life in passion is wrong. It leads a person to destruction in any case. If there's no money, a person simply becomes exhausted. The stages of development of a life in passion are as follows. First, people are inspired, then they get tired, then a breakdown occurs, and then they transition either to pure goodness or to degradation. And if success comes, then defilement occurs, a person transitions into degradation anyway, because when women become involved, it's already a life of degradation, not passion. You see, this is already the highest point. When a person has become insolent in life, one has no conscience, no shame. That's why I'm telling you that the passionate concept of life doesn't lead to success. It leads to the destruction of a person's life. Now let's consider the next option. A person, let's say, is not involved in relationships with women, but he has power and money. He is not in a pure goodness concept, but in a passionate one. This leads to bribes, leads to shady relationships, and accordingly, undoubtedly, my dears, this leads to jail time. This is also a life of degradation. No matter how much a person thinks that everything will work out for them, jail time is still inevitable, because as long as they have enough piety, they won't be imprisoned, but as soon as the piety ends, everyone finds out everything. A person thinks that they can hide everything forever. This is impossible because a person can hide something by the means of their good deeds. How does this happen? Let's say a person committed some sin, for example, cheated on their spouse and wants to keep it a secret. This desire is covered by good deeds. If there are many good deeds, no one will know about the cheating. But the very act of cheating leads a person to want to cheat again, and they lose their conscience. This means that they transition to a degraded layer of life. And gradually everything is revealed, because they continue to engage in such affairs. Any action entails a chain of actions. That means that the action itself forces a person to live this way. Therefore, when a person kills, they then become a serial killer. When a person cheats, they start to cheat constantly. When a person drinks, they become a drunkard. What is a life of pure goodness? The concept is this: I want to be happy. Everyone wants to be happy, but I want to give happiness to others. I want to work on myself, develop. I want to understand the meaning of life. I want to be a successful person, but I understand success differently. So success for me is internal development, which then gradually transitions to the external. Look at how a person in degradation acts. They forcefully attract success to themselves. Can you forcefully attract success? You can. Can you forcefully attract money? You can. If you have a lot of strength, it means you have a lot of devoutness from a past life. You can simply become powerful, a factory director or whatever. But according to the Vedas, as long as there is devoutness inside, you can keep everything for yourself. But as soon as it's gone, everything flies away. Why? Because you're committing violence against the environment. You're holding everything by force, and this is unnatural. Are there people who naturally become factory directors? There are such people. What do such people look like? They constantly care for people. Everyone loves them. They love everyone. And everyone likes that they're the factory director. Everyone says, live long, stay here. We need you. This is natural. So the person is in pure goodness. Pure goodness doesn't mean poverty and a life without pants. Pure goodness means natural inner strength. Now let's consider what passion is. People try to achieve prosperity not through force, but through their own efforts. That means they work like a donkey. They work, and through their activity they try to attract money. What's the result? Strength runs out, money runs out, they simply get tired. Now what is a life of pure goodness? A person doesn't strive for money. They know the laws. They know that if they work on themselves, help everyone, work joyfully, respect elders, respect equals, respect juniors, respect their wife, then gradually their devoutness accumulates. Their position in society accumulates, and they are naturally promoted upwards. They need to work less further on, but they can bring more benefit. But you see, they should know that if they, after advancing, put money in the first place and development in the second, then they are already sliding into passion. If you're in pure goodness and you've got more money, it means you need to do more good deeds. You have lots of money. Build a mosque, take care of people, build a school. This doesn't mean you should do good deeds with your last money. You can have money. If you have money and you use it correctly, God likes it. God doesn't forbid being rich, being wealthy. Wealth means received from God. Wealth is God's energy. Therefore, success means breaking out of the wrong concept of life. Now let's analyze this incorrect concept of life. In general, let's talk about life in passion. Let's say a woman asks me, Dr. Torsunov, what's wrong with us? We lived fine, everything was good, children, family, but my husband left for another woman. What did he lack? Life in passion always exhausts people. He lacked what everyone lacked. When you start living together, I'll tell you now how the energy of love works. At first, people live together. Their energy of love sounds like this. I like this person. I enjoy this person. What does enjoyment mean? It means I'm depleting all this energy. I enjoy them means I'm getting exhausted. They enjoy me means they're getting exhausted. Because we're not taking care of each other, we're enjoying ourselves. Relationships based on enjoyment mean that everything will soon end. The energy of love runs out. People live in enjoyment for 3 to 4 years. The next 4 to 5 years they live and tolerate each other. Then resentment accumulates, the person becomes annoying, and they separate, everything ends. This is the system, and you can't do anything about it, because people don't invest in love. To invest in love, you need to take care of your loved one. And to take care of your loved one, you need to be filled in return. If you just care, and you're given nothing by your loved one, you feel hurt. In order to care selflessly, to act, you need to have strength from somewhere. And strength comes from nature, from good people. It means you should be socially active, love everyone, be friends with everyone, invite friends over, go visit others. Not sit by the computer, but live an active, normal human life, love everyone, enjoy people. And God should be in the family, there should be prayers. Then there's conscience in the family, the husband won't cheat because it's shameful, embarrassing. In other words, life in passion means that people are focused on external needs. Their sense of self-esteem is turned towards acquisition. That means they need to work, family, home, this and that. Children need to go to school, need this, need that, need. All this is needed for them to feel good. This leads sequentially to the following stages. First stage, everything is fine with us. Second stage, we're getting tired. Third stage, we're fed up with each other. Fourth stage, we're separating. If we translate this into a song, we can trace the life of the 4 musketeers sequentially from the beginning and 40 years later. The first stage begins like in a song about enjoying life, beauty, and camaraderie while they're young. 40 years later, a person has become exhausted from living like this. As in the song, all that's left is to remove the fatigue, and this evening heals my soul. Oh, green-eyed taxi, oh, slow down, oh, and take me where they'll always be glad to see me. They write songs based on my lectures to help you understand better, but they are very beautiful songs, so profound. And this song is about life in passion. When people want to get high from each other, they enjoy each other. And where does this lead accordingly? And when a person lives in pure goodness, what does one enjoy? One enjoys everything. People in passion are focused on each other. They cannot live joyfully because their egoism or desire for happiness from each other closes them off, separates them from this world, from nature, from good people, from God. And people become narrow-minded. They are like racing dogs in harness because they only focus on family and home. They can't even see their relatives because they have no time. They're busy with themselves. What relatives? People become wild and destroy their lives. But life in pure goodness is completely different. Do you feel the difference? Racing dogs in harness. And on the contrary, everything is completely opposite in life, in pure goodness. And it doesn't exclude success in society. Because success in society depends on devoutness. Let's discuss this topic. What is devoutness? Let's say a person is born and has a very beautiful voice, good speech, good memory, good insight, a strong sense of self-esteem, and the person is very patient. You can't throw such a person off balance. One has a very strong inner position, has good health, good work ability. One has the ability to see through people, understand who is who. One has natural abilities, let's say, logical thinking. One has a good aristocratic family and so on. This is all about different types of devoutness I'm talking about, which are obtained from good deeds in past life. Devoutness gives a person immediate success and a good position in society. Now, if you don't have this, you can get it. As soon as a person starts feeding birds, wishing happiness to everyone, bringing pies to neighbors, putting a box of candies for passers-by, turning their psyche by the power of will towards helping others, then this person accumulates their devoutness, and undoubtedly they will become a successful person in life. Undoubtedly. It's just a matter of time when they become successful. Because the more devoutness they have, the greater their sense of self-esteem, the more abilities, the more understanding of what to do in life, and so on. We have a club, by the way. You can become a member of this club. There they learn to be a good person, and they do so many interesting things in this club, learning to live a happy, fulfilling life. I'll give you an example. In Yekaterinburg, they organize such an event. People stand with balloons. A person passes by. They say, "Do you want a free balloon?" One says, "I want." "Write to your mom, 'I love you.' Send your mom an SMS, 'I'll give you a balloon.'" One answers jokingly, "Well, I'll try now." Writes to mom, "I love you." So they give a balloon. If you write to your wife, "I love you," you'll get another balloon. Can you imagine how much positivity you'll get from such an activity? You'll be happy. What are you achieving in this? You're achieving that you'll run out of balloons. That's how people in passion think. But in pure goodness, people understand that it's not the balloons that are lacking, but the lack is in the head. You need to accumulate balloons in your head. When a person gets in a positive mood, it's the greatest asset. A person saw many grateful eyes, many kind people, understood that this world is beautiful, all people are beautiful. One got so much good experience. Or they went to an orphanage, fed and took care of children. They took care of the poor, took care of the elderly, cleaned up the street, and so on. They wish happiness to everyone, discuss a lecture together. We have prayer retreats. All clubs around the world gather. I give instructions. Everyone prays together, discusses what happened, and so on. You might say, Dr. Torsunov, you're luring me in. Okay, I'm luring you into your temple. If you don't want to join the club, go to your own temple. Clean up there, tidy up, wash, light a candle, sing, for example, Muslim chants, and so on. Live a fulfilling spiritual life, and you'll feel how good it becomes for you. You'll see that it's a completely different world, a different life. But first start by getting your psyche and your body going. You need nature. You need a healthy lifestyle. You should understand that everything is good, yoga is good, running is good, fasting is good, and strength exercises are also necessary. I do this too, and I see what need and benefit there is in it. When I come to the gym, I see that there are very fit, beautiful girls, handsome guys. Everyone communicates very well, joyfully. They all have a good mood. This is a sign of a correct lifestyle. Movement is life. Start with this. Tomorrow we will talk about how self-esteem works, about devoutness, how devoutness changes a person's life. We will discuss the distance in relationships. We will talk about who is senior, who is junior. We will talk about raising children, and in general about success in life and overcoming one's fate. My dears, unfortunately our time is coming to an end. Of course, I would sit here with you endlessly. You are all so good, wonderful, but we might get kicked out of the hall. And here's an announcement. On June 7th and 8th in Kazan, there will be seminars by Alexander Kakimov. He is a very dignified person with excellent experience. He is a spiritual mentor, a very serious, amazing personality. His family life with his wife is an example for many people. Come to his lectures, listen to him. It's a great fortune that he came here. When I was just starting my spiritual life, it was 25 years ago, he was already a spiritual mentor. So don't miss such an opportunity. And sign up for the club if you wish. I also want to say that we have another format of communication. These are online seminars, Good People Club. Did I tell you yesterday, no? What is it? On the platform of the Good People Club, you can attend my online lectures from your home, or you can create such a platform at your home. I conduct them once a month on Saturdays and Sundays at 11 a.m. Moscow time, the same lectures as now. So you say, come more often. You can see me more often, once a month easily. So I will communicate with you. If you gather as a group, you can ask questions. I will see you. And if you're at home, you will only see me, but I won't see you. The next seminar will be held in early May on our website, online project Good People Club. Find the information. This seminar will be about cleansing of the energetic blockages in the body. It will be about all types of fasting, how products cleanse, how to eat correctly, how to heal through cleansing of the body. You will learn about all this in these 2 lectures on Saturday and Sunday, so join online communication. And you won't find such information on the internet, because these are highly specialized lectures. They are not given in big cities. Thank you very much. I wish you all happiness, love, knowledge, and all the brightest things in your life. I am very grateful that you came to this talk and were with me all this time. Thank you very much. To learn more on the subject of health and healing of the body, please make sure to read my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page. Thank you very much, and see you soon.